What we wish for is a world with no gods.
Welcome to the final week of my journey playing through Xenoblade Chronicles 1 for the first time in anticipation for Xenoblade Genesis. Last week, Fiora is alive, and I could not be happier for her return. This week, I finally finished the game. Now, before I talk about how incredible of a finale this was, my plans for the review of Xenoblade Chronicles 1, my thoughts on the future connected epilogue, and my review of Xenoblade Chronicles 2 will be explained at the end of this video. Let's talk environments. Mechonis Field is unlike any other environment I have visited so far. They took the verticality from the Aether Mines, but then expanded that idea out, resulting in this massive journey through a very terrifying area. It was also really cool to be able to see outside the Mechonis through its battle scar. The Mechonis Central Factory might have been one of the largest environments I have visited so far. It took me several hours to explore the entire area because there were so many unique monsters with objectives that required me to kill some of them. Honestly, by the time I reached the end, I was so exhausted. But then I was like, cool, we're moving on to the next place. Arriving at the Mechonis capital, Agnaratha, my exhaustion turned into sadness as I saw the devastating effects of Zanza's attack on Mechonis. A city devoid of any life. The music so somber as I fight my way through a bunch of Mechons to reach Egil. After the Mechonis capital, we begin towards the finale. So we don't visit many large explorable environments, but a lot of really cool smaller ones. The Mechonis Core was a visually cool environment because I am descending down to face who I thought was going to be the final boss of the game. It really felt like an in-game area. Our return to the Bionis interior was awesome, everything being so bodily and gross. Strangely enough, this place felt so evil because of all these bizarre looking monsters. However, I was surprised that immediately after that, we are thrown into Prison Island, where now we are exploring this derelict castle. From the way I understood this story, this is probably Zanza's castle or a castle made for Zanza, as the people over the ages have slowly forgotten about Zanza. So we're seeing this decaying castle, a representation of what Zanza used to be to this world, now crumbling. It was so cool to see all these banquet halls and little hiding spots with cool loot throughout this entire area. There are two other areas that, although not explorable, were still awesome to see. First was seeing our freaking solar system. Starting from Saturn and making our way to Earth. As a big space geek, I was just so amazed at how beautifully rendered all of these planets were. The last area is not even playable. But seeing Colony 9 after humanity's wish was such an incredible sight to see. So many times I've seen these massive mountains surrounding Colony 9, representing this cage that Bionis had created for everyone that lives there. To now see this wide open sea full of freedom and possibilities. It was such a beautiful environment to end this entire journey. I ended the game around the 91-hour mark. Funnily enough, it would have been shorter if I realized back in Sword Valley that the anti-Mechon weaponry was more useful than pure max attack. Because after 20 plus hours of fighting my way through Sword Valley to the Mechonis capital, I was not using anti-Mechon weaponry. And it was a struggle. Also, I basically forgot about us getting those weapons anyways. I also didn't realize that Sword Valley was in fact the sword. I was kind of hoping that we could be on the edge of the sword and see out into the open sea. Now, although I won't commit to 100%ing Xenoblade Chronicles 1, I was so happy to fully reconstruct Colony 6. Seeing this once destroyed town looking and flourishing bigger than even Colony 9 was absolutely wonderful, and having us invite all the different people throughout all the places we visited was so wonderful. And also, there was just a random Tyria side quest that had us fighting her mother. That was kind of crazy. Throughout this game, I've been relatively overpowered within a couple of levels of the main story because I've just been doing every single quest in every single area. It was a nice form of grinding without having to just kill monsters for the sole purpose of gaining experience. However, as I entered the Bionis Interior, I was around level 70 to 71, where the game expected me to be around level 75. So I was rather disappointed that I had to grind for a couple of levels just to be able to defeat Lothria. Luckily, Prison Island had a ton of aggro monsters, so by the time I finished exploring that island, I was prepared for the remaining fights. Speaking of fights, I enjoyed the Eggle fights. Not so much the actual fighting, but the meaning behind many of those fights. The first real fight against Eggle, where he was outside his Mechon, really helped illustrate the way he originally viewed the lives of Bionis as being insects. But once we defeat him, I love that immediately the second fight begins, as now he takes us as a real threat and we're fighting his gigantic Mechon and we stand absolutely no chance of winning. His fight at the core was incredible because I love how the Change the Future mechanic showed us the Mechonis destroying the Bionis. It was such a cool visual to see in that moment of just a punch going in. We're like, oh god, we gotta stop that. Eggle's final fight though was my favorite. Although I didn't participate in this fight, the moment came directly after Shulk and Mayneth's deaths, and Eggle's realization that there can be peace among the Bionis and the Mechonis. The fight was Eggle's final stand against our true villain Zanza, and what an incredible end to an amazing character. Gadot is another character who had such a powerful ending as well. Last week, learning that Gadot's memories were wiped, I knew it was going to be rough for Sharla, and of course the writers really want to make sure I felt some sort of pain, as we see a flashback of Gadot blaming himself for not being able to save the lives of his men, putting this burden that they died for nothing because they were unable to win the fight against the Mechons. I was expecting the waterworks to happen, but honestly, the first time he exits his Mechon, right after a pretty fun fight where we had to run between wall to avoid his sniper shots, that moment didn't really get to me. I think it was because I was just struggling to understand whether it's Gadot speaking to us or Eggle speaking through Gadot. But during the final battle against Gadot, I was getting misty-eyed. Sharla refusing to believe that Gadot wouldn't remember her. And through the power of love, he was able to remember. Look, I'm a sucker for this cheesiness. It warmed my heart for Sharla to see Gadot again. It did break my heart seeing Ryan's expression as he sees Sharla run over to Gadot. But instead of being mopey, he did the mature move and threw out water to help Gadot out. This all leading to an amazing moment where now I was actually tearing up, where Gadot sacrificed himself to save Sharla and the others. And that also helped to reawaken Mayneth. So I was happy that Gadot's character really nailed this emotional impact that I was hoping for. The finale is also just chef's kiss. They first gave us the glimpse of Shulk floating through space with the voice of Sansa speaking through him. Now, to be fair, I also thought it was Alvis speaking to him. But anyways, so the moment when Dixon shoots Shulk and Sansa appears, I was leaping off my couch, cursing at Dixon because they definitely had some more heavy-handed, Dixon isn't a good guy, foreshadowing. But that reveal was so incredible. Sansa using Shulk's dead body as a vessel, which ended up giving Shulk a second chance at life, much like Mayneth using Fiora's body as a vessel. It's just a very cool moment of Shulk and Fiora being the future of this world. I greatly appreciate the attention to detail this game has for outfits, since I'm always switching up outfits for these videos. It was cool to see it reflected in Shulk's memories as he is trying to return to his body. And huge to the writing team. By still having the excitement hit when Shulk saved his friends against Dixon Telethia, we knew he was going to come back. But to make that return such an awesome action moment really helped elevate that scene more than just, hey, yo, Shulk just returned. It stunned me. How much wild reveals were thrown at me towards the end of the game. First, the crazy moment where all the Hyentia were transformed into Telethia, which is the gene reference early on in the game that the first Emperor was trying to eliminate. We even see Callian get transformed into a Telethia, and when Melia said her final goodbye to her brother, and Riki is just like, I hear your brother, but I don't see him. That killed me. My eyes were welling up as Melia hugs Riki, knowing that her and Riki were the only people who were able to hear her brother's last words. Such a beautiful moment. Funnily enough, Melia's stepmother's plot point was just not important, as we learned through Tyria's side quest that she turned into Telethia. And then not only do we fight her as a Telethia, but we also fight Tyria as a Telethia. I don't understand that. Also, it was very cool to see Face Mechons now helping Colony 6 because they were also formerly homes. That was just also super, super cool. The Dixon fight was a lot of fun because it was challenging enough where I could make a couple of mistakes without outright having everyone die as a result. But why this fight stands out to me is another one of my favorite tropes. but how? Shulk and Fiora slowly walking towards Dixon, as Dixon is freaking out about Shulk's new Monado powers is freaking sick. Now, this moment wasn't as hype as it could have been gameplay-wise because nothing actually changed. We're given a replica Monado once Shulk returns, and he can use all of his previous Monado skills. So when Shulk gets the power of the Monado during Dixon's fight, everything just remained the same. And as much as I hate Dixon, his death had me getting a bit misty-eyed. For one, Dixon wanted to die without giving Shulk the satisfaction. But to me, I think it was also to allow Shulk to not witness Dixon's death, to keep Shulk's conscience clear. However, we also see a moment where Shulk realizes that Dixon will not live through this, and he does grieve his death. It's a short but effective emotional moment. And then we're in freaking space. How cool is this moment? I love the buildup of us fighting the god of the world. I love that Zanza has this goofy ass Bionis looking armor on him, covering up how hot he is. Just freaking, this Zanza is so freaking hot, dude. I just don't understand why he's covering it all up. I love that during the fight against Zanza, there is a quick time event to determine whose power over the future prevails. Succeeding allows Shulk to see Zanza's upcoming attacks. What an awesome way to utilize a mechanic that we have been using for nearly 100 hours in such a fun, inventive way. Zanza's final form, being the unity between Bionis and the Mechonis, is such perfect irony. And the way Shulk creates a new Monado by creating a new future with his friends is so cheesy, but so effective and awesome. It warmed my heart. I love it so much. And of course, the game was like, yes, I know you're freaking out now, but we have more crazy reveals because not only is Alvis revealed to be the Monado, but he is the onboard AI that was on the space station where Zanza was once human who destroyed the entire universe, costing himself and managed to become gods in the new world. What is happening in this story? But you know what? I'm shoveling it all in, dude. I am eating it all up. I absolutely love every single aspect of the craziness that this story provided, and it works so effectively. This isn't just crazy to be crazy. It is crazy, but actually well written. This isn't a story about an egotistical god. It is a story about it's a story about someone who destroyed the universe to become a god, and I think that is just such a cool way to present this this world. And just when it could get any better, Alvis tells us that the universe is now full of amazing new life forms that we haven't met before. It is so tremendously exciting to see what the future holds for Xenoblade Chronicles, Xenoblade Genesis, and even all of those older Xenoblade games. Is this technically the first game in the entire universe of this Xeno franchise? This ending filled my heart with so much warmth. Seeing everyone from Bionis and Mechonis coming together at Colony 9 in this new world is a truly magical thing, and I love this game so much. Thank you for joining me on this wonderful journey as I experience Xenoblade Chronicles 1 for the first time. As excited as I am to play the epilogue and jump into Xenoblade Chronicles 2, this series will no longer be weekly. I will be releasing a Xenoblade Chronicles 1 review with my thoughts on the future connected DLC, and a single video about the Xenoblade Chronicles 2 that will attempt to capture my journey playing through that game, as the ultimate goal of this weekly format was to illustrate that journey. Thank you again for watching. Please take this chance to subscribe so you won't miss out on future Xenoblade videos. Thank you, and goodbye.